Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Bowman.
Present.
Alderman Bachman. Alderman Reese. Present. Alderman Milner. Absent. Alderman Dickerson.
Here.
Alderman Long.
Here.
Alderman Turner.
Here.
Mayor Hassel.
Here, and we do have a quorum. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we do have a ceremonial matter. On our agenda, it does call for two. The second of our proclamations is being postponed until the first meeting in December. But tonight, we do have a proclamation recognizing Small Business Saturday. The two gentlemen that were going to come to receive this were unavailable, but asked that we please go ahead and read it anyway. So, whereas Small Business Saturday is celebrated annually on the Saturday following Thanksgiving, and whereas in only 8 years, Small Business Saturday has become a powerful movement and more people are taking part than ever before, and whereas Small Business Saturday is a way to celebrate the uniqueness, charm, and economic impact that a small business brings to their communities, and whereas Harrisonville is home to a number of small businesses who are primed and ready to help their customers kickstart the holiday shopping season. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hassick, Mayor of the City of Harrisonville, do hereby proclaim Saturday, November 25th, 2017, a Small Business Saturday in our city and encourage all residents to support their local businesses and shop small on this very special day. So, get out there and spend your hard-earned money. Everybody. I got tires on myself. Okay, that concludes our ceremonial matters. So at this time, I'll open the floor to public participation. Anybody who has anything to bring this before this board that is not on our already scheduled agenda, now is your opportunity to speak. Please be sure to provide your name and address to the clerk. We have several items tonight. I'm going to try to keep it as close to the 4 minutes tonight on the comments, if you would please. So it's open at this time. Anybody who would like to speak?
Good to know.
Okay. First, for my clarification, the city is broke up into sections that we call wards, correct?
Correct. There are 4 wards.
Okay, and each alderman is to represent the people of that ward.
They are essentially, there's 2 aldermen elected to each ward. In theory represent that ward, but they, as a whole, they make decisions for the city.
Okay. Well, I've got several friends that are in Ward 4 that have said to me that Alderman Bowman has told them that the city is getting FEMA money for the flooding that happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? Do we have FEMA money?
To my knowledge, that there's been nothing in Missouri that has met the minimum requirements. Happy again, is that 600,000? Or I mean, not 100,000, $1 million, 6 million, or 8 million that you have to have in damages?
I think it was 9 million.
9.
Yeah, but we did not reach that.
Yeah, the total damage is required, so there's been no FEMA money that we're aware of, city or otherwise, that has been received.
Okay, so that's a misrepresentation then, that was not true, okay. My next thoughts are on Council Bill 076, the budget.
Yes.
As I understand it, we've gone from $20,000 to the drainage, sewer drainage, and we're now proposing $100,000, correct?
That would be for our stormwater.
For stormwater.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, I would just like to say that while it was very tragic what happened, most of Missouri was flooded during that time, most of the good portion of the United States. And we've already determined that there is no way to put enough money into that drainage system that could have prevented that, because what we get 5 inches in 1 hour. So to throw money at it when we've already established that there would be no way of preventing that, I think is just ridiculous. $100,000 should more than cover it, and for any kind of improvements that we need, in my opinion. Also, in my opinion, the proposal for the locker room at the police station, isn't there a unused facility that is, I guess the old police station, isn't there some locker rooms there that can be utilized?
No, I don't think there's any type of, there's no shower facility or anything available. This building does have, used to house the EMS at one time. There are
So there's
bathrooms,
something
there
here.
are bathrooms that were equipped with showers at one time in this building in the basement.
Are they still operable?
I don't know if they operate, I know they're there, I haven't been down there. They would definitely need some remodeling if they were to be put to use again. They haven't
Is it
been used.
feasible to think that it would come in under $50,000?
I don't know, unless we had it looked at, I mean, it's possible it could be less to make those facilities functional again. I couldn't quote that without having some estimates done, but.
Well, I would like to encourage that instead of throwing $50,000 in a facility. If we have the capability of making these work for a lesser amount, to me that seems more reasonable.
Okay.
And I think that's all
All right,
All right,
thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Good evening.
Hi. I know that we probably didn't qualify for FEMA, but I want to know, I was never personally asked except on the first flood, and that was before I had any damages. It was just a figure that I was quoted, which was way off.
Mhm.
How did we come to these numbers if the people in the neighborhoods weren't come back to for damages? Do we know?
So I think we did, pretty good canvassing of what those numbers were. And it wouldn't just be Harrisonville. I mean, we were looking at it as a region of Harrisonville and Jackson County. That's probably the only way we were gonna get to that number that
Well-
wasn't declared a public disaster.
Right, but I know the first time that they came around, the only way they stopped at doors in our neighborhood is if there was trash piles out in front of the house. And there were more people affected than that, and when they first asked me, I gave them the estimate that the company that we hired gave us, and that went way over.
And who
So-
stopped by? I'm just clarifying who.
I don't
Was
remember.
it somebody with the city or? was-
Yes.
Oh, okay, I just wanted
Yes.
to be sure who we were.
Yes, it
Okay.
was somebody with the city, but
Okay.
even the second time it happened, 3 weeks later,
Mhm.
there was nobody, and there was a lot more families. Because fortunately, and I say that regrettingly, we only had main drain backups.
Mhm.
So we didn't actually have the flooding, but we did have damages. So, and I was just curious because I know a lot of families experienced what I did. They didn't report the total amount of the damages because we didn't know.
Mhm.
So I was just curious as to that. And I would like to say, it's not gonna fix the past problems if we put more money into the storm drains, but it will definitely help the future. So I'd ask you guys to think about that because they're There's already been one family that had to do a short sale on their house and they're gone. Our neighborhood house values are dropped and we don't even know the extent of that yet. So that's affected us in more ways than one. And we are one of the fortunate ones that insurance covered it both times, but the extent of out-of-pocket, just with the deductibles and everything we had to buy to clean up, is, you know, has totally depleted our savings, period. And we haven't lived paycheck to paycheck in years, and we're still trying to recover from, you know, we had 3 disasters in a matter of 4 months. Not just the storm drains, but the storm we had with the hail and everything, so.
Yeah.
I'd ask you guys to consider, you know, doing more for the storm drains. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else this evening?
Hi,
Good evening.
I live on Walker, and I just had a few questions. I definitely had never been told in our ward, and we're in a group of probably maybe 100 or so families that are in our wards. We had started since the flood. And I had never heard that there was ever any FEMA money. I'd always heard that we didn't qualify, so I kind of don't know where that information came from. I'm kind of curious. And the next question is there is supposed to be 2 wardmans in our Ward 4, correct?
Correct.
So did somebody, why do we only have 1? I don't know, so I guess what I'm asking.
The gentleman that filled the other Ward 4 seat had resigned, and I have not had a chance to appoint somebody to that yet. I should have that done at the next meeting.
How long has it been vacant?
When did Alderman Stafford,
Back in June?
was it June? I think June or July, something like that, yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been working on it, and it's not, getting somebody to sign up for this job is not the easiest thing.
So
Not as
is
easy
it
as you
only
would
be
think.
appointed, or can somebody like actually sign up? I didn't know how it worked.
At this point, if you don't do an election, it's an appointment like any other made by myself, and then the board will approve or disapprove that appointment. That's the joint approval process. I have to nominate somebody, and then they have to vote to approve that.
If it's not election, right?
Correct.
Okay.
If it was, say they dropped off in February and you have a regular election coming in April, you could say, well, we'll just not appoint, we'll elect the seat because it's so close, but we're still well over a year from the election.
Yeah.
So you're not, and you don't want to do a special election because it just costs a lot of money and
Yeah,
there's
okay,
not really a
yeah, I
point, so.
definitely
Yep,
understand that.
yep, so no.
One more question on that.
Okay.
Is when is the next election for it to be voted for the wards, for our ward?
They're on there's two aldermen in each ward,
Mhm.
and they're on 4-year terms. The next election will include this office and 4 of the alderman seat in April of 2019, and then the other 4 alderman seat will be April of 2020. So every 4 years, you have a cycle, then you have basically 3 years of a set board and mayor until the next one.
Okay. And then, one other question is, I was gonna kind of follow up on the lady in the back that had spoke on the funding. Do we know, so did they turn it in, like amounts per ward, that they turned in for the FEMA funding? Because I'm kind of on the agreements with her is, when they asked me, we had just had the flood, so we had no idea to even know a dollar amount to turn in to the guy that had come around. And a lot of people had actually already hadn't even had their dumpsters out yet, so they didn't even know, because all the dumpsters had been grabbed up.
Mhm.
So I think there was only 2 dumpsters in our neighborhood. And I'm at $44,000 just in our damage alone. And I know one of the guys down the street is almost close to 80,000 because he had 9 foot of water in his basement. So I know he didn't get asked because he didn't have a dumpster at the time. So I'm just thinking that the numbers really couldn't have reflected in our town versus, I just have a hard time believing that, I just think that it wasn't a good justice done for the numbers that was turned in to equal that FEMA funding, because I know the damage and the devastation that happened just in our ward, which is Ward 4. And I know people didn't get asked. So the amounts that got turned in, I just feel was a very, very, it just didn't do justice for the families that lost so much. That was just kind of my comment on that, and I just think we gotta find a better solution on if this ever, well, it's gonna happen again, I guarantee it, that what's gonna happen, that them families, them numbers become true to what's turned in. And do we have an estimate for ward, like what our Ward 4 turned in for an estimate for FEMA?
We have to go through and crunch the numbers because we didn't divide it up into wards. We combined everything together, passed it on to the county, and then the county passed it on to SEMA. And then SEMA collected it from all of the jurisdictions, the cities and counties. And then they were going to be able to make a decision at that point whether it was considered a public disaster or not.
And is it only homes, or was it?
It was everything.
It was businesses.
Businesses.
Because the business, trade fair had almost $1 million worth of damage. So, I mean, and that was turned into his insurance company also. So I just don't know how we came that far from not meeting that FEMA.
And we want that FEMA money badly, and we submitted for it. I mean, we collected everything we could.
I mean, obviously everyone, I'm not, I'm just saying, I just think that the ball was dropped, whoever handled turning in them figures. Because like I said, the trade fair alone had almost $1 million damage. And that is what he turned into legally turned into his insurance company. So I don't know how we really missed that number, but it's just kind of weird to me. And my next question would be is on the drains. I guess I don't understand how you have a budget, $450,000 is getting given to the streets. I think that's great. We definitely need it. Sidewalks and curbs, $350,000, $100,000. I know it looks good to say we went up 5 times the amount. We gave $20,000. $100,000 to the storm drains. I'm thinking, I could care less whether I have a new sidewalk while I was standing outside watching my house be destroyed by sewer damage. And I think everybody else in this town that had damage could care less whether they have a new sidewalk. That sidewalk was not gonna save our homes that we live in. It's not gonna help go towards the damage that is gonna happen again with the drainage. Something has happened to where it's not sufficient. So the money, that $100,000 that's given, why wouldn't we want to invest more in that to try to come up with a solution? You say, okay, the big picture is, because I had, talked to you, and I had talked to Matt, and they said that, you guys said that it wasn't, that the big picture was a lot more money, but if we don't start somewhere and start investing, I don't agree with it's just spending money uselessly. I don't agree with that. To invest in the drains, I feel like it can't be, you can't spend enough on it. For the, especially, it's just not this flood. I didn't realize until we came to that town hall meeting that there was so many people dealing with water problems from the drainage all around town. Just not our ward, but all over the park and all that. So if we can't even afford the study you guys have to do, to get the engineers or whatever to bring it in, why aren't we just allotting money to that to try to get something started? $100,000, I just don't think is sufficient enough when you're giving $350,000 to curbs and streets, because neither one of them would have saved my home. The water storm drains would have. It would have helped any improvement. So any improvement that you're going to add to that is going to benefit. Them curbs and streets would have never been a benefit to my home or anybody else's home.
The, the 100,000 is the, again, I think we conversed, the budget is our guide of what to follow. And so the 100,000 is kind of a peg number to get us started on the study. We need, our master plan was done, I believe, in 2009 was the last time we did a master plan. Well, obviously, the events of this last summer could change a lot of that. I mean, the landscape has changed somewhat, so we need to reevaluate that. And quite honestly, stormwater is one of those things you can't just run out and, okay, well, this point right here, we're gonna go in and do a fix, because you're gonna affect something further down. As you fix one area, you affect another. If you look at St. Louis with the levees, when they build a bigger levee one spot, somewhere else gets flooded out worse the next time it floods out. You have to be careful that you're not, you're fixing one problem, but you're creating a new one somewhere else. So we have to have that master plan in place. Well, we do have some projects that are on our list. We haven't discussed them recently, but there is an old master plan, and there are some things that we can do, but we haven't discussed which one of those things would probably fall back into a new plan. And that's on our list of things to do after the first of the year. And it's very possible we will get further into the year and we will say, okay, we need to reallocate funds. All that money comes out of the general fund. If we deem that we have a sewer project that matter of fact, I think we discussed one, was it the last meeting or meeting before, over off Megan, the stormwater project, I don't remember.
Megan and, we were doing, it was some minor stuff.
Right, so you can do budget amendments later in the year to allocate the funds. The funds are all basically sitting in the same spot. It's right now, this is what we're saying, this is what we're going to set the allocation at. It doesn't mean that that's what's going to be spent. The spending could definitely be much different.
I guess it would be, why wait till later to even add them funds? It's, to me, the way it looks is you're saying, streets definitely, that's I definitely understand that. But that them curbs and sidewalks are more important. Really, that is kind of what you're saying by the amounts you gave is what's more important. Then storm drains are just so much more important than the sidewalks and curbs. I just don't see how you would even want to allot it later. Give it now. If it's in the same thing, allot it now and go back for it. And I'm just gonna say, in our ward, I feel like I would hope I could see you vote yes on this. It would be a tragedy that you come down and saw all them people suffer the way they did and not vote yes. It would be sad. It would be so sad. So, that's just kind of where I stand. Now, are we, do we have, are you guys planning on budgeting in for this study that has to be done? Since it's so expensive, what is the game plan for that?
Well, we haven't got the figure back on it yet to know what it is, and so it may very well call for an adjustment. 100,000 may not be enough to cover the study. I couldn't tell you right now because we don't have the estimate back from the engineer.
Minimum 250,000 to even bring in an engineer to take a look at our side of the town. You're talking extensively. I definitely know, just to take a look at our side of town engineering, it's minimum 250,000. So I know that 100,000 is not gonna touch even what needs to be done on our side,
Well,
to
again,
have an engineer even come in.
Well, and again, remember that a budget's not a mandate to spend. That doesn't mean that those numbers are not exactly what we'll spend. Every year we go back over, we have budget amendments, we actually have reappropriations from the prior year's budget of money that didn't get spent. The roof on this building is a good example. We approved it in the budget 2 years ago. We just now got the roof done because we haven't gotten somebody contracted to get that taken care of. And it actually ended up benefiting us because of the hailstorm. There was insurance funds and all that. I'm not saying that we don't know what's in the future, but we do plan to address stormwater, but until we have something kind of set in stone, this is kind of this is kind of the guide we'll go by, and then we can always adjust numbers. It's not, all it takes is a simple vote of this board.
One other thing, and I'm going back to swear, I'm gonna step away. I just got one other question is, will you just kind of make it a point to, you, just as the mayor, just to contact them people that personally own, the property there on that, where Russell Stover's and all that is, because they're not keeping it up, and I know the codes guy would come around and tell people to put their trash cans up. Is that something that is kind of in them guidelines to tell them people?
Are you talking about the ditch over there?
Yeah, on both, kind of that runs behind our houses and then right there that leads to the culverts. Is somebody in the city responsible for telling them people it's overgrown, it has to be kept up because it's private, kind of like our homes are private property with our grass and stuff? Is that something that's,
We talked,
We did ask them to clean it up. There's no requirement that they clean up the ditches.
so they can't be fined kind of like us?
No, it's not the same as the growth that you see, you know, the grass or whatever that's so high. So we're hoping to get some cooperation from all of those that live along creeks, if they would just take time to clean them out. You don't have to clean everything out, just get the brush out.
Yeah, that keeps it from.
yeah, you gotta be careful how much you clean out, because you could actually cause erosion if you take out too much of the vegetation, so, anyway. But yeah, we did talk about sending a letter that, saying these need to be addressed, because the culverts, I guess, that's what MoDOT's responsibility is the culverts, the actual concrete areas, and they.
Yeah, when I contacted them, they said they did their job, and he said the rest is the people that.
I think there was some
to-
misunderstanding of what they would clean up, because they weren't there as long as everybody thought they'd be, and thought, wow, that was quick, but that's why, it's because all they were cleaning was the concrete. So,
Alrighty,
Yep.
and I just wanna say that the lady had kind of commented earlier about Judy misrepresenting. She never misrepresented to me about any type of funding. I don't know what was said to anybody else, but 100+ people that's in our group for our ward was never misled about us receiving FEMA. I mean, it was a devastation to us, so I'll just say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight?
Could I, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I truly sympathize with the people in the Walker area that had flooding. We had flooding, I live on the north side of town, and we had flooding there also, not near to the extent that you had, but the weekend that we had the 10-inch rain was the second time in over 40 years that I've lived in that house that we had water in the basement. And we had water again the 2 weeks later when we had the additional 5 or 6 inches rain. And I support the city's need to look at this, but I think it needs to be more global, not just one area. You can prioritize an area, but I think the city would be far better off if you did look at doing the master plan so that you'd be sure that you're not creating additional problems and that you do it on a specific timetable. And I don't mean to trivialize the suffering that happened there, but there were definitely other parts of this community that also experienced flooding. And I would urge the representatives from my ward to vote for a more global plan versus additional monies for something that's just specific and allow you the opportunity to prioritize and take care of those things in a timely manner.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Mayor,
to-
can I make another point?
Well, I don't know, what's the rule, I'm going a second time. I don't think I've had anybody ask you to go a second time. If you want to add a comment, I'll, this one time.
Okay. I'm an EMT licensed by the state of Missouri. And I can tell you that soft shoulders or roads that don't have adequate curbs can cause some pretty horrific accidents. And while there's a lot of tragedies that have happened in Harrisonville, one of the biggest tragedies I saw was a child playing in the street because there was no sidewalk. So that's the importance of the curbs and the sidewalks.
All right, is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am. I think Mr. Moore's getting his workout back there. Good evening.
Hi there. My first question would be on the sidewalks. Is that to build new sidewalks or is it to repair the old sidewalks?
Well, when we do sidewalks, it's tearing out an old sidewalk and installing new where the old existed. One of the requirements we have is, if I get this wrong, you can hit me, is the ADA compliance for having wheelchair access to our sidewalks. I don't know how much of ours do meet it and don't meet it at this point, because every year we do some more work on sidewalks. So a lot of your sidewalk program is trying to, one, address areas where maybe there's a sidewalk that does this, where there's a trip hazard. And then also is getting your sidewalks into compliance for ADA compliance. So we have to do, I don't know how many linear feet, we've discussed it before, it's not a number I keep locked in my head, of sidewalk and curb we have, but it's a very large number. So we try to allocate money every year, just like we have been for stormwater, just like we have for streets. What we experienced when we got up here, at least myself, is that these areas, all three of these areas have been neglected for quite a while. So what we're facing is trying to, attack three things with, you only have so much funding. I mean, if we had a casino, we would probably have all the money we knew what to do with, and wouldn't be a problem.
And our schools would be in great shape.
There you go. So, we're trying to, you're trying to balance, okay, you're trying to improve, multiple areas of infrastructure all at once, and it is definitely, a daunting challenge, because you can only do so much. I mean,
Well, and not to trivialize, as the words were used over here, so that's not gonna solve the EMT's problem where the child was playing where there was no sidewalk. Is that correct? Is that a fair statement? Because you're repairing sidewalks, and you're making them ADA compliant. You're not putting sidewalks where there are no sidewalks.
Yeah, I mean, we are putting one out at Jefferson Parkway. There are the few occasions where we put one, but those are usually separate. The sidewalk fund that we have in the budget now is typically for sidewalk maintenance, which again, sidewalk maintenance would be, unfortunately, we fix sidewalks, tear it up, put a new one in. It's not like a road where you could go across and resurface it. I guess that would be a new invention to come up with, is a sidewalk resurfacing machine.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, so anyway, that's what we're referring to. A new sidewalk would be like Jefferson Parkway, where there's special state funds available to help put in a sidewalk that didn't exist before.
Okay, and then I wanna go back to the FEMA thing if we can. You said you'd have to crunch numbers to get for ward, what you did per ward. Can we get the numbers just for the city of Harrisonville?
Yeah,
What were those?
I don't know them offhand. I can get them,
Okay,
but I don't have them on me, no.
okay. I mean, it's hard for me to believe also, as I live currently across town, so I'm not actually in Ward 4, but I do own property in Ward 4, that was flooded and has never been flooded. It's been flooded twice now. The day that I bought it, it was underwater, which is just great timing, but anyhow, it is what it is. So there is.
It was the day of one of those floods that we had this last year. Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Didn't realize that. I know I've talked to you before. I didn't,
Yeah.
wow, that's not a good experience, no.
You know what? I lost a lot less than a lot of people over there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
the drainage system is an issue. I've also spoken with Matt, and asked him that he would vote for the money to be split up. You made a comment a while ago that the last study that y'all did, you're talking about the roof that was 2 years down the road. Our fear would be that that's gonna be the case, that you're not even getting a study done till 2 years down the road. And in the process, how many times we flooded again? This time, that ward got one family that couldn't afford to even get back in their homes. How many more are gonna do that? Not only is my property over there, and I'll be honest with you, I care less about my property, but I have a daughter and son-in-law and 3 grandkids that are right there that almost had to be taken out of there. Okay? Pine and them almost had to come down in all of that water and try to get my grandbabies out of there because my husband couldn't even get across town. So I don't know if your house got anything, I don't know, Matt, if yours did, but I think that there ought to be something done, and $100,000, just throwing that at that, to do a study. These people back there on that back row, they've done the research, and they've done the research. And when she says it's $250,000 just to get study over there, I believe it's $250,000. So your $100,000 is not gonna touch, let alone the whole city. And then let's talk about the dam. Is that included in this? Is it, so we're not even touching the dam yet?
Now, the dam we have discussed waiting to see, next year. It's been shored up to where, it's the spillway, not the actual dam itself, it's the spillway where the water runs over the dam. There has been repair made, not permanent, but it's a repair that keeps it from getting worse, eroding out, and failing.
Is that the repair that happened the day of the flood?
No, this is the big rocks you see out there, I believe referred to it as riffraff rock. You'll see that piled up along the side of it there. There's been talk of that it may be possible to get the Army Corps of Engineers, maybe able to get some assistance through that since it's a lake. And I think that's a good option, but we don't know yet whether or not we can get any assistance, because you're looking at a lot of money to fix that spillway. There could be talk of taking it out and filling it in, it would be so expensive, who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very, very costly repair to make, so.
And that being said, even if you address the drainage systems and nothing's done, when that overflows again because of the rerouting back behind Walker and all that, you're in the same boat with the spillway, you know what I'm saying? I mean, just the sooner, it's property damage. It's property damage after property damage after property damage. I don't know how many of y'all flooded, I don't know how many of y'all have property damage, you know? I honestly wonder if there'd be a lot more yeses if you had. I mean, just to be straight out with you, you know? Because I don't feel like that this is something that's being taken serious. You know, I mean, like I said, we're getting a little bit of money thrown here, a little bit of money thrown here. We had a huge meeting with a ton of people in it, you know, where we couldn't get answers, we couldn't get numbers, we couldn't get figures. We couldn't get them, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And we still haven't we've done this and doing this and doing this. And so it's just like kind of, we're gonna push it to the side and just talk about it at meetings. You're the mayor. Your people deserve better than that.
Well, I would love to have all the money in the world to go put,
You know, we
put everything. I honestly, you know, it was what we had was it was an extreme amount of rain in a short time. The one time I've had water in my basement is when we had rain for 2 days straight. It wasn't like that where it came down, you know, bucket loads at a time, but it rained 2 days straight and the water table, everybody in my whole area had water get in their basement because the water table just rose so high that it had nowhere to go, and so it fed into people's basements. Well, there was no failure of anything there, it was just simply, there was too much rain saturated into the ground. You know, I don't know the properties over there, how many have been flooded in the past. I know that many of them got flooded twice in a 1 month period. But in the 40 years that I've lived here, I don't recall seeing flooding of that type. I mean, this was a first for me, and so, you know, if you think I have all the answers, or this board has all the answers how to stop 10 inches of rain in a couple hours, we haven't got to that point yet, and it's not something you're going to, I don't think it's any city's going to be equipped to fix that overnight. I mean, Houston got 55 inches of rain from that hurricane. I mean, was their infrastructure, was it designed to handle that? Probably not. So.
No, but do you think Houston, maybe, it might be a priority to do it? If you had to ask Houston, how we're gonna fix this if it occurs again, are we gonna build sidewalks? But that's neither here nor there. The other thing that's brought up at that last meeting was, and I'm very serious about this, we're talking about over there where the ditches are not cleaned out beside Russell Stover's and all that stuff. You know, if you, as a mayor and the board, would get behind on this, let them know there are people that will come out. You know what I'm saying? I'll protect my property. I'll help protect my daughter's property. I'll help protect their property. They're gonna help protect mine. You know what I'm saying? But if we go to Russell Stover's and say, hey, do you mind if we just go over here and clean? They're not going to. But if the mayor says, you know what, I got a group of people that's willing to help out with this because they flooded over here. We'll take some responsibility in this and help out. It's our city. You know, I mean, we live here for a reason. We like it here.
Yeah, I have heard of it. There's a group, I spoke with a young lady that's putting a group together to work to go clean on those. I think the big challenge is getting DNR you gotta get DNR involved. I mean, I don't think Russell Stowers can just say, go clean my ditch. DNR has to say, yes, this is what you can or can't clean. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong with.
They do get involved on part of it.
Mhm.
Okay, is that something that the city can step in and help us figure out? You know what I'm saying? Because there's some, I mean, there's a difference in me calling and saying, hey, this is Francie, I'm from this Harrisonville, and my property got flooded, can you blah, blah, than saying, this is Mayor Brian Hassick from Harrisonville, and we've got some people here that would like to clean this ditch out and help keep their property from being flooded again. What do I need to tell these people? How can we help them? You know what I'm saying? There's a big difference in that.
I don't disagree.
Just maybe something you can think about.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, is there anyone else this evening? All right, seeing no one, I will close public participation at this time, and we will move on to the approval of our minutes. First tonight, we have the minutes from the regular meeting of November 6, 2017. And I believe there was a correction issued on that, so I believe if we make a motion, we need to make it as amended since it.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended.
Motion from Alderman Dickerson.
Second.
And I have a second from Alderman Turner. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next, you have the minutes from November 6th executive session.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion from Alderman Dickerson.
Second?
And a second from Alderman Reese. Any changes anybody notes? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, moving on to our agenda items. First tonight, we have the special event permit for tree lighting and square activities.
So Love the Square is again doing Christmas on the Square, and the activities just keep growing, which there's a number of participating businesses that are gonna be helping out with this, but we're looking at, they wanna block off the square so that there is no traffic there. We can have people swing to the right, but we don't wanna have any traffic on the square. So it's the tree lighting ceremony, carriage rides, rotary train, there'll be hot chocolate for sale. There's about 4 different locations set up for kids' activities. So we're trying to keep it a safe event, keep the traffic out of it. We're gonna have to block the road off. It'll take some assistance from the street department to get that done, and then also to set up for the Christmas pageant. So we need parks to help us with tables and chairs on that. So you're looking at about $260, $294 in equipment and wages. Noting that there's been no complaints or concerns associated with prior events, we're just looking for an approval to allow it to go on.
Okay.
I was gonna, what about the horse carriage rides? We're going by that.
So they're gonna start down at the Episcopal Church and then work their way up Wall Street.
Right.
So
And that part's not gonna be blocked off?
that will not be blocked, no. We will advise that vendor that they need to be aware of traffic, because traffic will still be coming up Wall Street.
Happy I see Chief Hofer out in the hallway. Any issues as far as the police department goes with blocking the square for Love the Square event?
No, not at all.
Thank you.
Any further questions, discussion?
Motion we approve?
Second.
I have a motion from Alderman Turner and a second from Alderman Bowman for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And special event permit is approved. All right. Next, we have Council Bill 076.
Council Bill 076, second reading, an ordinance adopting an operating budget for the city of Harrisonville, Missouri for the fiscal year January 1, 2018 through December 31, 2018.
All right. And this is our second reading for the ordinance for the budget. Do what? Well, if there's, unless there is a change to be made, we would be, at this point, we take a roll call.
I'd just like to say one thing to address the people that are here from the 4th Ward. This budget
is a tool that we're gonna be able to use regardless of the amount of money that's gonna be okayed. It can always be increased and taken away from the streets and the sidewalks if we decide to. All we have to do is amend the budget. It's in no way set in stone that these figures are gonna be what we're gonna use. But we first have to have a plan of action to put the amount of money in effect that it's gonna take to do these projects that are called for in the Fourth Ward or wherever all over town. So it's gonna be a changing document as it goes through, but we need to pass this budget because the city has to have a budget to go by for the guidelines for next year, and we're running out of time. Because we have 1 month, nobody was looking to see all the problems that has been created from the flood. And there isn't one person up here on this board that doesn't want to help you people down the Fourth Ward. But we have to do it in a way that the city and the government expects us to do it. And that is to okay the budget. We can always amend it, and we can always change it. But we have no basis to say 100,000 or 200,000 or 300,000 because we don't know. And it would not be, it would be frivolous to put a big amount of money in for stormwater when we're not sure we're going to need it or if we need more. And that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to offer an amendment to the budget. I make a motion that we modify the figures in the budget. Under the asphalt overlay program, the request was for $600,000. The recommended amount by the city manager was $200,000. Alderman Dickerson, in previous meetings, moved that we add $400,000. These were out of reserve funds, I believe. Under stormwater, the request was $100,000. The city manager approved $100,000, and $100,000 remains. And under sidewalk and curbs, the request was for $90,000. The city manager approved $90,000, and Alderman Bockelman moved for $350,000 to be taken out of reserve funds. So if I'm looking at that, I see $750,000 taken out of reserve funds for sidewalks and streets. My motion is that we place $250,000 in the asphalt overlay program, $250,000 in the sidewalk and curb program, $53,000 in the police locker room, $197,000 in stormwater projects, with the $100,000 that's already in stormwater projects.
For a total of
For a total of
$297.
$297. We've discussed previously, and Public Works Director Patterson and Street Superintendent Jacobs have acknowledged to us that there are projects that can be done now. Yes, understood. We don't have the stormwater master plan update, understood. But our staff has said there are small projects that we can do now while we're waiting to find out if we get assistance from the Corps to do an update to our master plan for stormwater. I think the responsible thing for us to do as a board is to follow the direction of our staff and listen to the pleas of the people that have been affected by these storm events. So that's my motion.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'd second that motion.
I have a second from Alderman Reese. The first was by Alderman Bowman. Is there any further discussion? All right, I assume we should do a roll call.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I didn't jump in fast.
No, that's okay.
I would like, and I've done this before, but the police department, who we have just totally left out, it's, I can't think of anything that we've done special for them this year. And the locker room seems to have been pictured as a spa sort of a thing, and that's not what it is, folks. The locker room is a safety device for our officers. Our officers many times come to work, they wind up in the dirt, they wind up in the slot, in all sorts of situations. I was sort of looking at it on the internet this evening, and it talked about
group who had gone in and there was a dead body inside a place, and they had to stay in that room with that body for several hours. And so when they came out, they had to go someplace to clean up. You cannot expect our officers to not have a place to keep themselves clean. We don't want our city represented that way, and we don't want them, we just don't want them to be in that kind of position. They need a place to store their weapons in a locked, safe place when they leave there if they don't take them with them. They need a place to change into civilian clothes to go home so that they don't have to wear their uniforms home. Our police department has sacrificed a lot for Harrisonville. They do things that we don't know they do. They, when we need protection, that's who we call, and we need to protect them. I would suggest that we go ahead and put that $52,000 into a locker room so they have a place to store their clothing, store their weapons, so it's separate for the men and the women, and they have a place to shower if they need to do so in the middle of a shift. One of the things that I read was in order to recruit police officers to your city, and we need some right now, it's my understanding that we're a little short and we're trying to find a few more, you have to have something that brings them to your city, because other cities want them as well. Peculiar just passed a tax, and this isn't a tax, but it shows that the citizens are really behind their officers. I've forgotten how much it is, but it's quite a little bit. I think the tax is going to bring in like $250,000, $300,000 for them, and we're asking for $52,000. They also said online, as I read, that any good police department is going to have a locker for the safety and security of their officers. So I'm just putting my little plug in. I'd really like very much for that $52,000 or 53.
53 is what was, that's what was motioned.
Okay, $53,000 to be passed. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, I'll need a roll call, please.
Alderman Dickerson,
Nay.
Alderman Long,
Nay.
Alderman Bowman,
Aye.
Alderman Bockelman,
No.
Alderman Milner, absent. Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Nay.
Okay, so that was 4-2. So right now, the budget still remains as written. Are there any other comments before we have roll call on the second reading of the budget? Okay, so we have the roll call for second reading of Council Bill 076, please.
Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Long,
Aye.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Bowman,
No.
Alderman Reese,
No.
Alderman Bockelman,
Yes.
Alderman Milner, absent.
Okay, so Council Bill 076 will become Ordinance 03421. Council Bill 077.
Council Bill 077, a resolution of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Harrisonville, Missouri, to authorize the city administrator to execute a service contract with Renewal West LLC DBA Denali Water Solutions for removal of sludge from the wastewater treatment plant lagoon in an amount not to exceed $57,931.46 per year.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. This is something that we do every year. Years past, we've spent $75,000, which is what we have budgeted for this year. We had been on a multi-year contract with Denali, but no one could find it. So my staff, we rebid it this year. It's also a multi-year contract. And rebidding it basically brought our price down $18,000. So what I'd be asking for is approval for the $57,931,
As opposed to the...
as opposed to $75,000.
Wow, what a deal. All right, any questions?
Make a motion.
Motion from Alderman Turner,
Second.
second from Alderman Dickerson. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Council Bill 077 becomes Resolution R046.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Council Bill 078.
Council Bill 078, a resolution of the Harrisonville Board of Aldermen authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Terry Snelling Construction for curb and sidewalk repair in an amount not to exceed $209,546.
Good evening, Robbie.
Good evening. Come before you to ask for this, to vote for this. It is our annual program. It is a little bit more than it was last year. But if you have any questions, I won't waste your time. If you have any questions, be glad to answer.
This is a new company, correct?
This is a new company.
And obviously we do bids, so.
They have done Raymores Independence.
Okay.
We have gotten some recommendations. They come highly recommended.
Okay.
And we had a pre-construction meeting with them already just to get a feel. And they asked the right questions, very knowledgeable, and I think it'd be a good fit for us.
Well, if you like them, I'm good with that. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Jacob?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Could you tell me if any of these contractors, any of these 4 contractors utilize union labor?
I cannot, I don't know.
Okay. If it's a government contract, is it not subject to prevailing wage?
Prevailing wage, which is not union. You don't have to be union, but it has to be prevailing wage.
Right, well, they pay. Yeah.
Okay.
that's
So
right.
this,
So they'll follow that.
so these contractors will follow?
Yeah, they have to, they're required to follow that. Yep, yep. All right, good question.
Motion to approve.
A motion from Alderman Dickerson, second from Alderman Turner. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Council Bill 078 will become Resolution R047. Council Bill 079.
Council Bill 079, a resolution of the Harrisonville Board of Aldermen to approve amending the pay scale by increasing the electric superintendent from level 9 to level 10 and establishing an effective date.
So when we reestablished the electric superintendent, we put him in at level 9. I had an old sheet of what the pay scales were, and that's where it was located. However, then I found out later that we had a conflict because we also had the electric line supervisor on the same position. So not to create that kind of conflict and give that person a chance to have a higher pay scale, I would recommend that we move the electric superintendent from level 9 to level 10. And that puts him at a scale of $65,094 to $97,642.
Okay, any questions?
Has that position just been filled?
Yeah, we did that back in June,
June or July.
July. Tim Scott, he was here, we introduced him.
And so help me understand why we're doing this now?
We set him up as a level 9.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't find out till later that we had a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
The conflict was that we had 2 of them in the same pay scale. So as part of the budget, we're figuring out what to do for next year. I brought this as the same time we're doing the budget. We're not increasing the pay at this point, we're just increasing his, or what level he'll be at.
Okay, any further questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Bowman. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Council Bill 079 will become Resolution R048. Council Bill 080.
First reading, Council Bill 080, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to enter into a contract on behalf of the city of Harrisonville, Missouri with Municipal Waste Services LLC to collect and dispose of residential and public facilities solid waste and recyclable commodities, establishing the conditions thereto and establishing an effective date.
So Mr. Moore is here to answer any questions you may have. I have included a contract that had some of the changes that we made when we negotiated with Mr. Moore on the contract. So the areas that may have different or were different from the RFP are in the contract that you have in hand. If you have any particular questions about those, Mr. Moore is here to answer. This is the contract we talked about, going up to $13.80 per month. The city has also reduced their amount of money. that goes with that, so that the total for residents will be $14.80 per month. And we looked at the collection for yard waste and other things, and we've included that in there. And that was one of the areas that Mr. Moore and I talked about. He doesn't believe that you need to do 52 weeks of yard waste, but you should do it for at least, what is it, nine months of the year, would be the best. No reason to have somebody driving around not collecting anything if there's nothing out there in December, January, February. So those are some of the things that we've included in this contract. Do you have any questions on it?
I have a question. If we take 3 months of collection off, are we keeping the same amount to be paid?
Yes.
Okay, I did a little figuring on this. As of right now, we're paying $12.49 per household per month.
Right.
And that will go up to $14.80. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure my picture. That's $2.31 a month for each household, addition to what it's been in the past.
And remember, some of that is our fee.
Right, but I'm
Some
doing
is his-
our fee on both of these figures, so it's just a difference of it. Okay, so there are 3,342 Harrisonville households with a $2.31 additional fee. That would come up to $7,720 and some cents additional fees over what we've gotten in the past, what we paid in the past. Okay, so times 12 months, that's per month. So times 12 months, that comes up to $92,640. So that's $92,640 in addition to what we have paid in the past. And didn't we have yard service every collection time with this past company?
It was weekly.
Weekly. So basically, we're paying $92,640 more and getting less service from them.
No.
Is that correct?
Where that come in at, when we first sent out the RFP, there was nothing in there stated about the yard waste period. Then we went back and we asked to give you a price for 6 months out of the year or all year round. My price stayed the same. What I was utilizing in here is what the city actually uses. Not me, not maybe, not you. What we actually do in here. I've been picking up yard waste in this town for 27 years. We used to do it all on Wednesday, all at one time, the entire town. By the time we got to December and January and February and March, we was basically driving around in a cab of a truck doing this. Now, as I also explained, if we continue to do it that way, Mr. Scavuzzo, who has his grandkids over here to rake his yard for him in the winter months because the extra leaves blew off, if he calls me, I'm gonna go pick him up. I'm not gonna make the man hold on to yard waste for the rest of the year. If we have to do it all year round, if you guys see fit, that'd be best for everybody, we can do that. What I'm trying to do is trying to keep this price at the same place it's gonna be now for many, many years to come. Not just for the initial 3 years. So I'm looking ahead at 5 or 6 years. I'm not doing this to practice anymore. I'm doing this because this is gonna be mine because I've lived here my entire life and I want things to be taken care of the way they're supposed to be taken care of. So I'm planning for 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road. That's where we're going at now.
Okay.
Unfortunately, like we all discussed before, the days of $10 a month to get your trash picked up, unfortunately, is over. Unfortunately.
Does your service that's in the contract provides for one bulk item a month? Is that something that we have?
One free bulk item per month for all 3,342 residents plus at no additional charge.
So what did we pay for that before if somebody?
Used to be, what it was for years, and I would have to go back and look again, used to be for years, when Dylan Jim had it, you got 3 items for $10, which is absurd. But I don't think anybody ever fixed that. I think it just kind of kept going. So the way it was always in the past was 3 items for $10. So you was charged for everything right up front in the very beginning, and that was paid directly to the contractor.
Okay, so this additional $92,640 is to provide insurance so that in 5 or 6 years we'll still have a good, I'm sorry, I really.
No, what I'm saying is what we're doing now is to try to help everything move forward. I'm gonna throw in the extra bulky item that you didn't used to give before. So now then, when you have a recliner that's broke down, instead of calling me and having to pay the $10 to get rid of that, now we're gonna take that for you every month for free. So I'm giving you there, and we're taking away 3.5 or 4 months worth of yard waste that is really not utilized by the residents in town. Yes, there's always a few people that's gonna use it, but
Well, we're paying $14.80 a month more, so that would kind of take care of that $10 for the chair. But,
well, for one person, correct,
yeah, right, well, for the household.
Right.
Yeah,
per month.
yeah, for both, yeah. Okay, thank you, thanks.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the increases, like he said, I mean, what we were operating off of was the older contract, and that things have changed. I mean, the cost of this service is just, I mean, one, we're changing providers because we weren't getting, I don't believe we were getting what we paid for before, so.
Now, of course, the $92,000 isn't what we're paying, that's what we're paying additionally.
Right.
And we were gonna pay additionally, it didn't matter who we were.
Right, it's just, so there would have been a difference, it may have been a little less, but again, what service,
Yeah.
I mean, I think his bulky item, that offsets some of that.
Okay, but originally, the 90, I'm sorry, I'm just getting these figures all mixed up. The $92,000 in addition was what was agreed on at the beginning of the contract, is that right?
Correct.
Right.
The rates that we,
Okay.
when we approved his bid, that was what we approved, we took his bid, is what we voted to
Okay,
take, correct?
and now we just simply want to take that away because we don't use it?
Well, what he's suggesting is you said December, January, February, when,
In March.
and March, okay, is reducing the yard waste pickup, because I mean, he could put it in there now, but what he's saying is in 3 years from now, he could say, well, I have to increase the envelope some more because of providing that, whereas if he's not having to have a truck, I mean, it costs him whether he picks up the yard waste or not, he has to send a truck around, I assume you have a separate truck. I mean, obviously, you have to have a separate truck for yard waste, so what he's saying is he has a truck driving around spending gas that's not picking anything up. If he's not doing that, then he feels he can avoid rate increases in the future and keep our rate level, that's what he has just suggested.
Mr. Mayor, I might just add that I think what your city administrator did, just because I was bouncing the contracts back and forth, we did that, with trying to refine a number of terms. I think there was a discussion where you got the bulky item, which wasn't part of the original bid, so that's an extra.
But it was $10 per.
It was $10.
And now we've got almost a $15 increase.
Well, but
No.
that depends on how you look at it. If we look at it that way, then it's $10 a month, it's $1,200 times 3,342, I don't have a calculator. So we probably superseded that already. But we're right there real close in that same ballpark. If we're gonna assume every month as every resident ever does it, everybody has that opportunity to use that service, if they so choose to. Same as the yard waste, same as the recycling. I'm throwing out an extra $300,000 worth of recycling carts out there in hopes that everybody uses them. Everybody uses them. Not just a few people. I'm hoping everybody uses them. Because I am very gung-ho on the recycling for several different reasons. Point in case, at least on the landfill, has been a business for, I don't know, umpteen gazillion years. They're about to run out of room. And the reason why they're about to run out of room is because all of this stuff that we take in there, as I said earlier, I believe we can increase the recycling in the city by probably close to 30+%. Pretty easy. And how we're gonna do that is, as I said before, the way it always worked before is, Alderman Dickerson had to call me and ask me for a recycle bin. As we've proved over the last 8 years with Town and Country Disposal, if I give it to you, you're gonna use it. It happens. City of Raymore, we used to have 250 people that we used to pick up recycling from in there every Wednesday. We went through there and we handed out over 6,000 recycle bins, and now they was taking out over 36 tons a week of recycling. And nobody did anything different. One thing we did different, we took the little bitty tiny bin and threw it away, and we give everybody a great big cart like what I'm gonna give everybody, and you went from about 4.5 tons to 35 to 40 tons a week of recycling. And that's why That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're wanting to do. We want to make sure that we get the services where the services were going to be more beneficial from each and every individual service. It's like the Christmas tree thing. I talked to Happy about it. We wanted to do the Christmas tree thing the first 2 weeks after the 25th. How many people tear down the Christmas tree the day after Christmas? Very few. It's usually up till New Year's Day. And then we all have a party while they're trying to sober up. That's when we get the kids in there to take all the balls and everything off and the popcorn and everything else. So the best bang for the buck is for the masses of people to be able to use that feature is for, let's do it the first 2 weeks of January. It gives everybody a week to get over the Christmas hustle and bustle and everything, have a little get together New Year's Eve, and then we tear everything down and then we get rid of it all at once that time. Again, we get the masses of the people to be able to participate that way instead of just a few chosen few that wants to do it.
Can I ask how you feel about the discussion of December, January, February, March? In looking at the leaves right now, I know my own yard, I likely won't have everything picked up by December. Fortunately, I don't usually have much I put out because I either shred or I have a place to dispose of my leaves. But the fact is that people with a lot of trees, it seems like they're kind of behind this year. December, you will have, I think December you're gonna have more than you would in March.
Here's what I would say, if we go all year round, I'm perfectly fine with that. You guys have our reasons for why we change that.
Correct.
If we do the April through November, I'm not the kind of guy, and I really don't even care what this says, don't take that the wrong way, but if you was to call me, or you, Ms. Reese, was to call me and say, hey, these people aren't gonna have all the leaves picked up, yeah, okay, fine. Send out a bulletin, we're gonna continue through the end of December. Let's say we have an early spring like we've had before, and I've already cut my grass 5 times in February, and we usually don't start till June. Pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, these people are, they want their yard waste picked up now instead of waiting until April. I'm not gonna say, no, this says I don't have to. That's not the way I do business. And I'm not gonna do business that way. The good thing on your side is, I'm the one who gets to make those decisions. And I have to call somebody in Houston or wherever to get that approved. That's the way we want to do it. So if we cut it off here and one of you guys call me and say, hey, can we do this 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks? Sure, let's do it. Get it over with. I got nothing out of that. But again, you get into January and February, folks, most of the time you get through the middle of December, who's outside raking leaves at that point? Now, granted, when we built the new Grandview Triangle, yes, I know, we had all winter long, it was 70 degrees all year long for 3 years. I understand that. And we're going to have those seasons. Just like this year, the water table will come up 32 feet. We're not always going to be able to predict those things, and we're not always going to be able to budget for those things. However, we get the opportunity of being able to be a little bit more free with it and relax with it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you accept leaves in plastic bags?
No. And the only reason we don't is because where we take them, they don't want the plastic bags in it. So my response to them was, they make a biodegradable plastic bag for those. I don't care, I don't want to. They don't know which one's which.
So we'll still have to bag them in paper bags?
Paper bags or use your old trash cans. There's a lot of people in Harrisonville that's been using the trash cans
Don't put them in a
forever.
bag and you'll dump them?
Sure.
Yeah,
Put them in a trash can.
they just don't want plastic.
That's true. Scavuzzo's over here has been doing it for 100 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my neighbors have several trash cans,
Yeah.
that's just all they use them for.
Yeah. And we'll do it that way. The only thing we ask is sometimes it's a pain in the rear end if you're trying to get those last 3 in there, you get up and down and throw Johnny on top of it, jump up and down. It makes it a booger to get them out. But yes, we'll do that.
Mr. Moore, I have some questions.
Uh-huh.
As we've been working our way through this process, the thing that has always troubled me is I don't like for citizens to have to pay more and get less. That doesn't set well with me. And, we've been getting weekly yard waste pickup, and you did, as you acknowledged, you did include that in your RFP. I think this is a workable alternative that you've presented to us, that you are willing to pick up bags if residents have leaves during the off 4 months. My questions would be, is there going to be a limit to the number of bags? For example, if someone says, I do have leaves to pick up in December, what will be the limit? This is an extra pickup now, not the regular, but this is an extra pickup. Will there be a limit to the number of bags that you will pick up?
No, and I did not put this in there because we didn't do all the right verbiage, and I apologize, Happy, I don't want to mean to get you in trouble. what I do for the city of Greenwood, what I do for the city, of everybody that we currently do. The month of November, the bag limit is 10 bags all throughout the year. And very few people's gonna reach that most of the time. The month of November, all bets off. I don't care if you put 210 bags out there. We're gonna take all of them for the month of November. I do that everywhere. Yes, it creates some headaches and heartaches for the little girls in Greenwood because, well, he did last week. Yeah, I did last week. I don't have to, but trying to help you out to make sure I don't stick you to 10 bags and it takes you the next 10 months to get rid of 10 bags a week to get some of these leaves. You go around Oakville and Pearl Street up and down here, those streets over there's 100 years old. I mean, there's a gazillion leaves, so no, I'm not gonna hold you to that.
We have people that are storing leaves in their garage because they're over the number of bags.
No.
So let me make sure that I have this clear. In November, it's an unlimited number of bags.
That is correct.
Okay.
I don't care how many bags you set out there.
December, January, February, and March, the off months, if people call you and say, I have leaves to be picked up, there is no limit on the number of bags.
No, if they've got, they're not gonna have very many, but yes, if they do, yeah, call me, we'll come out and pick them up.
Okay, so during the regular months then, the limit is 10 bags.
Per week, correct.
During the off months, it's unlimited bags.
No, during the month of November, it's unlimited.
Okay,
For the
fine.
1 or 2 people that call in those off months that you're referring to, yes, if he calls and says he has 5 or 6, 10 bags, yes, we'll come and pick them up. If he says he has 15 bags, we'll come and pick them up.
So in December, January, February, and March, what's the limit in the number of bags?
Well,
Is there a limit?
I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to help you
Okay,
out,
okay.
whatever that takes.
And there's
okay?
no additional charge to
No.
the resident
No,
for picking up
absolutely not.
extra bags
Absolutely
during the
not.
off months? Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay. I'd like to see that be added into the contract. I have another question. I see on an RFP that you signed in July that you made the addendum that you would include a 3% discount if payment was received in full within 30 days of the invoice.
That is correct.
Is that, are you still honoring that discount?
I did, yes, it's not, it hadn't been put in here yet, but yes.
Okay.
Happy and I, we discussed that earlier as well.
So we need to get that into the contract
The
also.
one thing the contract does is incorporate the RFP. So the response to the RFP is incorporated by reference. What we tried to include in the contract was the bulk of the understanding without trying to have a 40 or 50-page document and just repeat everything that was in the RFP. There are a number of things in the contract itself that are slightly different than the RFP because we tried to improve the clarity and understanding and the working relationship between the city and the contractor. But early in the contract, we do incorporate the RFP into the agreement.
And it says in there in reference to RFP,
Okay.
it says that in several
And
places.
then my final thing, and I want you to know that I really appreciate, I think this is a very workable solution for our people, having a larger number of bags being able to be picked up in the off months. I think that will help people. The last thing I wanted to ask about is, pardon me, you've redlined out the section about the contractor shall also provide to the city a mobile phone number for each of the contractor's collection vehicle crews, allowing city staff to contact such crew while performing collection services. I can understand why you took that out. But what is the process if we need to contact the collection crew? We call you and you call them?
You will call our office number, at that time there'll probably be a young lady who answers the phone. And then she will then contact that driver if there is an issue, and they'll go back and get it. If it makes it to me, it's probably too late for him.
Okay. And when we visited back in August, I asked you if you were going to be relocating your business to Harrisonville, and you indicated that you were. Have you done that yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, excellent. Thank you much.
For 2 months now, we actually moved in.
Okay,
Well,
where are
I
you
got
at?
the heat turned on.
Where are you at?
The old John Deere place out there,
Uh-huh.
out there next to the hospital.
Excellent. Thank you
Once we
very
figured out who had the electricity out there, that was kind of a.
All right.
Everybody has Harrisonville except for me, and I've got Osage Valley, so I'm not sure how that works.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Well, we would need a motion to suspend the ruling if you wish
I
to.
make a motion to suspend the rules and
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Long to suspend the ruling for Council Bill 080 and move it to a second reading. Any further discussion? Need a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Dickerson,
aye.
Alderman Bowman,
Aye.
Alderman Long,
Aye.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Bockelman, Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Milner, absent.
All right, second reading, please.
Council Bill 080, second reading, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to enter into a contract on behalf of the city of Harrisonville, Missouri with Municipal Waste Services LLC to collect and dispose of residential and public facilities solid waste and recyclable commodities, establish the conditions thereto, and establish an effective date.
All right, I need a roll call vote again, please.
Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Bowman,
Aye.
Alderman Bockelman,
Aye.
Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Long,
Aye.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Milner, absent.
All right, and Council Bill 080 will become ordinance 03422. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right. That concludes our agenda items for tonight. Alderman committee reports. Alderman Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a statement that I'm going to read. This is my entire statement regarding the issue of a number of votes required to pass an ordinance in the city of Harrisonville, a fourth-class city. A copy of this statement is being provided to the city clerk or the deputy city clerk on November 20th, 2017, during a regular meeting of the Harrisonville Board of Aldermen. I hereby request my statement, as it is written, be made part of the official record of that meeting. It is my belief that the opinions expressed by the city attorney and his colleague regarding the number of votes required to pass an ordinance when there's a vacancy on the board are clearly not right. Our system of governance was designed to have 8 aldermen, and thus it was designed for 5 votes to be required to have a majority. My concern is that everything the city does going forward with only 4 votes is at risk of being overturned as invalid because it's not a proper vote. Thank you.
To have that writing put in officially, you need approval from the board, Alderman Bowman.
Excuse me?
To have that officially put in the record, it requires the board to approve. You can read it and he can make it part of the minutes, but to actually have your written statement requires an approval of the board. I did research that. So,
We don't approve it.
I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson to not allow that in there. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Statement will not be officially put in, it can be reflected in the minutes. Alderman Bockelman.
No.
Alderman Reese.
Just a quick one.
Sure.
I knew when I came on the board and Alderman Bowman and I have the same first name, that there were gonna be times that there were things that got confused between us because being a small town and a small board and knowing each other personally, we go by first names many times. And so some of the things that I might say might be attributed to Alderman Bowman and the opposite way. Not too long ago, there was a post put on Facebook that, that more or less accused, I guess, or pointed fingers towards Alderman Bowman that had to do with my cause, which is that locker room, which fell on its face tonight, but that's all right. But I just wanted to make it real clear that was not Alderman Bowman, that was me. That was Judy Reese, Alderman. And so, there may be other things in the future that we get mixed up, I hope there is, but anyway, just wanted to put that out, thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Dickerson.
I'd just like to say that now we have a working document for the people in the Fourth Ward to be able to start off the new year, to maybe get them some help. We'll be able to get the studies done we need, and if we need more money, we'll be able to allocate it. And it was a positive. You'll probably get better help this way. That's all.
Alderman Long.
I kind of feel the same way. I mean,
I don't think we've ever went with our budget by the book on everything that we've done. That being said, you know, I myself had water damage in my business and at my house. So probably not, you know, my shop was pretty bad, but anyways, probably not near, that's my business and I can deal with it, but not probably as much as you all have brought to us, but don't think that we have forgotten about you all or anything like that. Trust me, we will work on it, but there's a lot of steps that a lot of us don't know how to do. We need guidance for that to get there, so just, I know patience is probably not what you want to hear, but hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it and help you all. That's all I have to say about that.
All right. Alderman Turner. Nothing, right?
Mr. Welch?
Put a report by everybody's seat. Just bring your attention to item 4. We did not receive any responses to an RFQ. This is for a review of the fund amounts paid to the general fund from the enterprise funds. So I made some contact with the people that we sent the RFQ to see what we need to do to change that. So we're going to miss that deadline as required, or as we suspected from the state audit that we need to do. So we'll get on that as quickly as possible, but we're not going to make it by January this year to get somebody hired.
Okay.
That's it. Unless somebody else has any questions about the other stuff?
All right. Remind everybody that on December 9th will be the mayor's tree lighting ceremony up on the square. I know it says mayor's tree lighting ceremony, but I feel it's more the city's ceremony than the mayor's. I just get the honor of flipping the switch with some fine young citizens. But encourage everybody to come up for that. It's usually a good time. There's usually a decent crowd. The carriage rides look like lots of fun. And we usually have a visit from Mr. and Mrs. Claus. Drove out today. The sidewalk on Jefferson Parkway is moving along. The senior living area out there is actually putting theirs in at the same time right now. So you'll have the sidewalk going all the way to the edge of their development when this is all done. Really looks like it's going to be nice. Something that's been needed for a long time is ease for people to get to that facility via sidewalk. Remind everybody that we have Thanksgiving, so I hope everybody has a safe and happy Thanksgiving. City offices will be closed Thursday and Friday. I went out and visited RP Lumber this last week. I had some time off and went in and I met one of their gentlemen from the corporate office. It's a very nice store. Lumberyard looks very nice the way it's set up inside. I've been told that RP does not sell second-rate lumber. They only sell good stuff, so they may be a little bit more expensive, but you get what you pay for. The gentleman from the corporate office had nothing but good things to say about the city and the staff. He said their experience here was very good, that they had a very good experience, no problems. That was good to hear, because that's not what I have heard in the past. So my hat's off to staff for making their transition here as easy as possible. And it's nice to see an anchor store. Those who weren't here for the 6 o'clock meeting, we were talking about the TIFs. Getting that store is a big, filled up, that anchor space filled up is a big step in possibly developing more of our empty space here in town, especially down around the Sutherland's area. So that really is a big step for us. So very happy to have that going now. AT&T store has also opened up, the new building out there. I know somebody might encourage, what is that, T-Mobile could take AT&T's old spot maybe down there next to the video store, so then we'd have somebody to fill that empty spot. But anyway, that is all I have for this evening. Alderman Dickerson, we do need a motion for executive session, please.
I move that the Board of Aldermen go into closed session pursuant to the following section of the city statute, but there are situations. section 610.021, to discuss real estate transactions.
Okay, need a second? I have a second from Alderman Long. I'll need a roll call, please.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Long,
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson,
Aye.
Alderman Reese,
Aye.
Alderman Bockelman,
Aye.
Alderman Bowman, Alderman Milner, absent.
All right, and we are adjourned executive. Thank you and good night, everyone.